Welcome to the 2020 fall event of the Welsh Society of Philadelphia. We're back here once again at the Philadelphia Cricket Club, hosted by Bill and Jean Roberts. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for coming. Recognizing that this is the 100th year that women have the right to vote in the United States, I'd like to introduce the first woman president of the Welsh Society of Philadelphia, Jean Roberts.
Dyma ni, yn yr ddinas serch brawdol, yn dal I gyfarfod gyda'n gilydd, I wneud yn siŵr bod y Gymdeithas Gymraeg yn dal I fod yn gryf. Welcome to everyone.
I'd like to introduce Chaplain Clayton Ames, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Noswaith Da, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In North Wales is the magnificent Harlech Castle. Taking us there tonight is Philadelphia's own Todd Thomas, baritone known worldwide. Let's go with Todd to Harlech Castle.
Harry Webb, born 1920, dying in 1994, was one of Wales' most popular poets, known for his wit and erudition, for his historical perspective and awareness of the contemporary realities, and in Wales, he enjoyed the status of people's poet. Harry was born in Swansea. He spent much of his life as a librarian. In Mountain Ash and Merthyr Tydfil, in the 1970s, he took part in the BBC Wales program Poems and Pints. And though he was an individualist, his political slant was more of the Welsh Republican socialism. Here's one of his rousing Welsh patriotic poems, entitled The Red, White, and Green. On the first day of March, we remember St. David, the pride of our land, who taught us the stern path of duty, and for freedom and truth make a stand. So here's to the sons of David, those youngsters so loyal and keen, who'll haul down the red, white, and blue, lads, and hoist up the red, white, and green. In the dark, gloomy days of December, we mourn for Llewellyn with pride, who fell in defense of his country with 18 brave men by his side. So here's to the sons of Llewellyn, the heirs of the valiant 18, who'll haul down the red, white, and blue, lads, and hoist up the red, white, and green. On the warm golden days of September, great Owen Glendower took the field. For 15 long years did he struggle, and never the dragon did yield. So here's to the son of great Owen, who will show the pound of size what we mean, when we haul down the red, white, and blue lads, and hoist up the red, white, and green. There are many more names to remember, and some that will never be known, who were loyal to Wales and to the Gwerin, and defied all the night of the throne. So here's to the sons of Gwerin, who care not for the prince or for queen, who'll haul down the red, white, and blue lads, and hoist up the red, white, and green.
I wrote this poem as a tribute poem to Aris Thomas after he died, remembering that he had said jokingly once, "A poem in translation is like kissing through a handkerchief." Handkerchief kiss. A caress in the dark. What a tame lot we were with our secretive yesterday's kisses. Today, it's a common greeting, and we watch on the small screen world leaders deal peace with a cold embrace or a natter's kiss. The lyric translated is like kissing through a hanky, said the bard. As for me, I hug those poems between pages that bring back the word lovers. Let the poem carry a handkerchief and leave on my lip its veiled kiss. Cusan hankes. Mae cerdd mewn cyfieithiad fel cusan trwy hankes. Anwes yn y gwyll. Rhyw bobl lywydd oeddem yn cwato'r gusan ddoi. Ond heddiw, fforddiw i gyfarch ac ar y sgrin fach gwelwn arweinwyr byd yn trafod hilio hedd ac anwes las ambell un bwbach. Ar dilyneg o'i throsi, nid yw o'n cusan drwy gadach poced bydding pryfardd. Minnau sy'n ymafliad cerdd ar ddalen gan ddwyni gôl gariadon geiriau am ynaf hyn, a fo cerddi byd hancesu ac ar fy ngwefus sus dan len.
We have a special arrangement to share with you tonight by Margaret Williams of All Through the Night, done by our very own Catherine Cruzy and Todd Thomas. Here it is for your enjoyment.
Another favorite Harry Webb poem is amusing but with a punch. It is entitled, When Christ Was Born on Dowlais Top. When Christ was born on Dowlais Top, the ironworks were all on stop. The money wasn't coming in, but there was no room in the Half Moon Inn. The shepherds came from Twinawine, and 3 kings from the Merthyr and Brecon line, and the stars shone over the beacon's ridge, and the angels sang by Rumney Bridge. When Christ turned water into stout, a lot of people were most put out, and wrote cross letters to the paper, protesting at such a wicked caper. When Christ fed the unemployed, the authorities were most annoyed. He hasn't gone through proper channels, said the public men on the boards and panels. When Christ walked up on Swansea Bay, the people looked the other way and murmured, this is not at all the sort of thing that suits Porthcawl. When Christ preached a sermon on Kilvey Hill, he'd have dropped dead if looks could kill. And as they listened to the Beatitudes, they sniffed with scorn with platitudes. When Christ was hanged in Cardiff jail, good riddance, said the Western Mail. But Darrow, weren't all faces red when he came to judge the quick and the dead?
Poem comes from a sequence called Welsh Espionage, and it's based on the circumstances of how I learnt to speak English, aged 2 1/4. Welsh was the mother tongue, English was his. He taught her the body by fetishist quiz, father and daughter on the bottom stair. Dy benelyn yw elbow, dy wallti yw hair, chin yw dy endi, head yw dy ben. She promptly forgot, made him do it again. Then he folded her dwrn and, calling it fist, held it to show her knuckles and wrist. Let's keep it from Mam as a special surprise. Lips a gwefusau, llygaid our eyes. Each part he touched in their secret game thrilled as she whispered its English name. The mother was livid when she was told, we agreed no English till 4 years old. She listened upstairs, her head in a whirl. Was it such a bad thing to be Daddy's girl?
Kathy Cruzy will now sing for us Dance of the Withered Leaves by Mansell Thomas.
Tonight beneath the branches where birds no longer sing, the restless leaves of autumn are dancing in a ring. Dancing, whirling, dancing beneath the waning moon. Shastra them, October's dance soon done.
Also in recognition, in the 100th year of the women's right to vote in the United States, we have a special guest who has returned from the other side. Some of you may know her and some of you may not. Her name is Alice Paul.
Hello. Here it is, 19 and 20. It's an exciting time, and I hope all of the women who fought so hard for the franchise, and all the men too, will come out and vote. Remember, it's a presidential election, but now, here we are. It's 1920. Congress has certified the amendment in August 1920, and we are going to the polls for the first time. And so I'm taking a breather. I'm often a very forward-thinking person, but today I'm going to go back to my past and talk a little bit about my Welsh ancestors. My Welsh ancestors were Quakers, and my great-great-great-great-grandfather came from Radnorshire in Wales and sailed to America, to Radnor, Pennsylvania. He brought with him his papers from the Quaker meeting in Radnorshire, and he joined the Quaker meeting in Radnor, Pennsylvania. He came in 1699. His name was Thomas ap Harry ap Rhys. Thomas, son of Harry, son of Rhys. You will recognize the Welsh mutation. But having come to this country, his name became anglicized or elided to Thomas Parry. Thomas Parry had a son, John Parry I, who had a son, John Parry II, who had a son, John Roberts Parry, who had a son, William Parry, who was my grandfather, and William Parry, who became Judge William Parry, had a daughter named Tacy Parry, who was my mother. She was also active in the movement for suffrage. I have found a house that might be very similar to the one that they might have built and or lived in. Come with me. The house was owned by John Roberts, who owned much of the land here along the Philadelphia main line and many mills along the creek. Now his grandson, John Roberts III, was hung for treason during the Revolution. Why? Not because he was treasonous, but because he was a Quaker, and he refused to fight for either side. But after the Revolution, the courts decided that he was not a traitor. Reparations were paid to his widow, and the land was put in trusteeship with the University of Pennsylvania. In 1790, this house was sold for 6 pounds Pennsylvania money and 34.5 bushels of wheat payable to the University of Pennsylvania once a year. Let's look in the house. Here we are. This house is appointed very much like my ancestors' house might have been appointed back in the late 1600s and early 1700s. For example, over here is a Welsh dresser. Now this dresser is made of solid Welsh oak, and it comes from South Wales. In South Wales, they most often used a potboard, like this one has, and not a full cupboard, which was more frequently used in North Wales. Over here, we have the kitchen. Now, of course, This would have been the entire living space for the settler. There was likely a loft for sleeping, but aside from that, this was the entire room, and people lived, ate, spun, wove, did all of their work here in the one room in the 1600s. This is the kitchen. This is the original cooking crane, and many a call, soup, would have been made over a fire here. As the settler thrived, likely they would have built up. The house would have expanded, or they would have taken down a home like this, which was built of logs and stone chinking. This one, being a Quaker house, was unified with a stucco front to make it look uniform. But as they grew more wealthy, they might have gotten a few more choice pieces of furniture. For example, a tall case clock. Now, this particular tall case clock was made by the patriarch of Welsh clockmaking, Mr. John Owen. And this clock was made by him in 1760. If you look inside, you can see the original lead weights. The clock dial itself is not painted as many were. Instead, it's a brass face with silvering on the dial. And I think it's remarkable that here in 1920, the silvering and the brass remains very much intact. We are facing an important election. Women are going to the polls, and I hope the men will join them. You see, it doesn't matter how you use your vote. It's only important that you have a voice in government. So I hope you will go and vote. Now, I must get to work because I planned to continue my work. I'm not going to take off my hat just yet. For my father, he was a farmer, used to say, once you place your hand to the plow, you don't take it off till you get to the end of the row. We're not at the end of the row, for you see, getting the vote only gave women equality in voting, not about earning a living or in any other sphere of human life. Therefore, I want to work on a federal constitutional amendment which will provide equal rights for all people. Think of it, an equal rights amendment. Together, we won the vote, and together, we will all make this democracy work by using the power of our franchise. Thank you for visiting with me today.
Here's a poem by William Williams, known by his bardic name of Cruis, or Cross in English, translated into English from the original Welsh. As with all translations of poetry, a literal rendition of the original language oftentimes sacrifices the poetic language of the original, losing rhymes, assonance, and alliteration. Translator Sharon Larkin believed that the poet wished the simplicity of the modest flower border in this poem to stand for Wales, and Mom, the mother or the central figure and planter of the plant in every Welsh home, along with her neighbors to represent the people of Wales. The word plant is the Welsh word meaning children. Because Cruis was a minister of religion as well as a poet, or rather a bard, could the old man in the poem, in about the 6th stanza, be a reference to God? Here we have a border bach, the small border. Along the edge of a narrow path that divided the garden in two, my mother had her little border, the prettiest flowers of the parish. A little root of this and that, here and there, now and again, and in this way, a little Eden came quite simply into being. Somehow, by chance, every time, I don't know how, but Dad always swore that nothing ever failed when planted by the hand of Mom. Yes, almost all the plants were simple flowers of poor people, and miraculous vegetables notable for goodness rather than appearance. Among them were snowdrops, mint, thyme, and muscatel, winter savory, sweet lavender, and a vigorous bush of box. 2 or 3 primroses and daffodils were sure to be. All the plants of the small border in the care of some old man. They were a host of common folk. None of them in that small border could claim the pedigree of those blooming in the mansion's gardens. With a stab to the chest one day, I came across an old alien, wild, without precedent to the border. A dandelion blown in from a distance. Smiling an insolent smile in sun and dew, I wondered how that old connoisseur knew that Mom was growing old.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way, do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
The North American Festival of Wales 2020 was to be held in Philadelphia this year. The pandemic prevented the festival from occurring. A special performer, Yayan Jones, was coming to Philadelphia to sing for us. We're pleased that he has sent a song from Wales to be part of our program tonight. Here he is, the one and only Yayan Jones.
Noswaith dda, good evening to you all at the Welsh Society of Philadelphia, all the way from Rhos-on-Sea in North Wales. I hope you're all keeping well. I was so disappointed when this year's festival, the North America Festival of Wales, had to be cancelled. However, I am very excited that it's been rescheduled and I'll be over with you in 2022. I hope you all enjoy your virtual dinner tonight and enjoy the song that I prepared for you. It's Lisa Lan, a traditional Welsh song arranged by Brian Hughes. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much. Gis Yr oedd dy gwmni'n well na'r Fyddwy'n hodio gyda'r hwyr, fy nghalon y fach a dodd fel cwyr, wrth glywed sŵn o'r radarn, daw hiraeth fawr.
Our next piece is a poem written by Waldo Williams. It's entitled Remembrance, or Cawfio.
Un funud bach, cyn elo'r haul o'r wybren. Un funud fwyn, cyn ddelo'r hwyr i'w hynt. I gofio am y pethau anghofiadig, a'r goll yn awr, yn llwch amser gynt.
One fleeting moment as the sun is setting, one gentle moment as the night falls fast, to bring to mind the things that are forgotten, now scattered in the dust of ages past. Like white foamed waves that break on lonely beaches, like the wind song where no one hears the wind. They beckon us, I know, but to no purpose. The old forgotten things of humankind. The artistry and skills of early peoples, small dwelling places, and enormous halls, old well-told tales that have been lost for ages, the gods that now no mortal could recall. And little words of languages long vanished, lithe words once lively on the lips of men and pretty to the prattle of small children, no tongue will ever utter them again. On earth's innumerable generations, their sacred dreams and fragile sanctity, is the heart silent? What was once acquainted with sadness and with gladness and with glee? Often at close of day, when I am lonely, I long to know you all. Bring all to mind. Is there a heart or memory still to cherish the old forgotten things of humankind?
The etymology of Wales and Welsh is traced back to the sense of foreign or other. This is clearly a label given to us by somebody else. You don't call yourself foreign if you're at home. Cymru, on the other hand, here it is. The com and brogos gives us something else. Com meaning together, and brogos broadly meaning a piece of land. Cymru, the country, is therefore the shared patch. Cymru, the people, are those who share it together. What's Wales in Welsh? It's the together land. I love that. It's inclusive and embracing. Being Welsh is not a question of who was here first, but what was here first and who is sharing it here now, sharing the story, sharing the view from the window. So I'd like to finish with a piece I wrote last year, sort of in desperation, having been asked to try to convey to a non-Welsh speaking audience in Berlin, as it happens, what it is I see when I speak Welsh. It's an approximation, because obviously to see the view in focus, you need the language lens. Perhaps it's a bit like looking through a net curtain. And as I invite you to draw your chair closer to the windowsill, I'll just point out that in Welsh, we hear smells, and that the word for prince is tywysog, which doesn't come from the principal idea, the prime, the first, but rather, I like to interpret, from the verb to guide, or the kind of leading that is guiding, tywys, within touching distance. Touching. Do you remember those days? Anyway, I think that should do it, so here goes. We're not afraid of flies. We say hello, not hello. The jaw and the mouth go south and don't close around the nose. Hello, not hello. And we have two words for you. And my grass is blue. And the word for blue is glass, not glass. And that matters, for it never shatters. Because when I try really hard, I do my best blue. And when I'm sad, the little shoe hurts in a place where you don't know, because the dirt's mine and that's fine. And I say yes in as many ways as there are questions. I listen on things. I hear smells, like the smell of smoke. And though I know that smother and choke are brothers, somehow I don't know you. I only know facts, and you're not a fact. You're an act of being beyond just living, and there's a word for living that's the same as dying, and a poem is a song, and it's the half of walking. And I can't be afraid, only fear like a cough and a cold can be upon me, and things that are told are said against, and we talk always with, never to, and a kutch is a hug, and loud is high, and when I go to sleep, I don't mind the bugs, though I go to the field of night where I wait to see a dream that will light the candle of my eye. And I'm savvy enough to have absolutely nothing. Things are just with me for now, borrowed perhaps, like the trainers I call daps. And when I see rain, I see old women with sticks. And if 6 is half a dozen, then 50 is half 100, and 40 is double 20, and 19 is 4 and 15. And if you want to be the boss, you've got to be the bridge, because a prince is not a primo, but a guide, and pride means strong. So, friend, as my song comes to an end, let me say that when you call us foreign, we'll open a hand and invite you to join us, for we're the people of the together land. Diolch am wrando.
A past member of the Welsh Society of Philadelphia, Irelis Evans Lewis, used to call this next song we're going to hear Welsh Tin Pan Alley. Some may think of it that way, but we always enjoy it. Let's listen to Kathy and Todd sing We'll Keep a Welcome.
Oh, my God.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Our benediction will be led by Chaplain, the Reverend Ann Thatcher. Ann.
May the peace that passes all understanding guard your hearts and minds in the knowledge and love of God and of his Son, our Savior, Jesus Christ. The blessing of God, Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be upon you and remain with you always.
It took a lot more planning for this year's fall event than the quote-unquote normal fall event because of the different logistics involved. I'd like to, at this time, thank the committee who worked so hard to pull all this together for your visual and listening enjoyment. The committee members are Peter Jacobs, Mary Roberts Glassman Jones, Donald Jones Marcus, Dr. Jean Mary Roberts, Todd Thomas, Taylor Williams, and in front of the camera and behind the camera, Kathy Cruzy. Thank you for being with us.